Research helps in setting strategic priorities and developing a more nuanced understanding of what our customers want. Without research, how do we go about creating a solution that people will be willing to pay for, or to make informed decisions about positioning ourselves against other players? Research is about trying to look into the future. To take any rational action, we need a logical basis. Say, on what basis should I price my new self-tying shoelaces? They have no real competitor in the market. Should it be 100, 247 or 1,000? What's the right value for them? What features of these shoelaces will customers really value? Their look or colour? Maybe their functionality? These questions should not be answered with mere guesswork. That would be too risky and also send the wrong signals to your partners and investors. Don't be intimidated with the concept of research. We all do it naturally. When you are trying to find the best deal for concert tickets or choosing which college to go to, you are collecting information, analysing and comparing with what you already know or have heard from trusted sources, and then you frame it so that you have a justification to act. This is researching. Research can sometimes be wrong as well, especially if you don't ask the right questions, or maybe you didn't know which questions to ask. At times, it is impossible to get the data you need to actually start doing the business. And in a few months, if you are systematic in your analysis, patterns will start to emerge that could help you shape your offering, fine-tune it, optimise it to deliver maximum impact and value to both you, the entrepreneur, and your customers.
Hi, Ali.
Hello, Ian.
So I'll start with the criticism. Research can be time-consuming, expensive, and go wrong sometimes. But what are some of the ways you can extract value from it?
Yes, your charges are correct, Ian. But in many instances, if executed with rigor, traditional market research, which might be polls or formal surveys, interviews and focus groups, which could be both online and offline, they can be exceedingly valuable and a good guide for making entrepreneurial decisions, especially during the growth and scaling phases. Remember, there is startup, growth, scaling. In the pre-startup phase, which is, of course, the most initial stage, research should take a different form. That is important to understand. And this is when mistakes are often made. Entrepreneurs not differentiating between traditional market research and pre-startup and startup learning by doing trial and error. All right? Trial and error versus traditional market research, there are major differences. And these are two, like I said, absolutely different things. And trial and error, if you look at it, it's a form of research based on a very sound premise. And the late Steve Jobs captured it rather well. He said, people don't know what they want until you show it to them. That's why I never rely on market research. Steve Jobs did not believe in doing market research. But what does this quote really mean? Is it unreasonable and unfair to expect people to have an opinion on a product or service they themselves have never experienced before? I would say it is. It is unreasonable to expect somebody to have an opinion about something they haven't used themselves. Imagine you're a farmer based in rural Kenya with only functional literacy. You do not have a bank account. You don't even have a mobile phone. To transfer money to your relatives in the city, you take the bus each month and carry the cash with you. Then one day, someone comes along from a mobile phone company, Safaricom. They're a big operator, and you don't really know them. And they ask you to fill out a survey about your thoughts and opinions on SMS-based money transfer. What would be your reaction? Think about it. Emphatically, it would be bafflement. How would you know anything about SMS-based money transfer or mobile banking if you have never dealt in the area? You don't even have a bank account. And you would think to yourself, why am I being asked this? I don't know anything about this. How will it help me? And this should be expected. The farmer is being asked to comment on something they have no direct experiences with. Therefore, what Safaricom really did was they used a trial and error based approach. The aim of the project was to carefully understand the whole array of issues that might stall the implementation of their mobile money solution, which was M-Pesa. in a pilot study, and it is important to do pilot studies in trial and error, they actually got their target users and other actors, such as store owners, to start using the service in a limited way. Actually start using it. Once you start using it, then you start to see what problems might there be. They understood those problems, took them on board, and suitably fixed the M-Pesa platform, and then asked them to try it again. And then more problems were discovered. And using this approach, they created what you would call a most optimized solution, which was then launched.
So, are there any free ways of collecting customer or other research data?
Oh yes, absolutely. You can collect a lot of free data. Data collection can be expensive. A savvy researcher would first resort to indirect or secondary research methods using free-to-use online tools and resources. And why not? Say you have had an idea for a venture. You're in Indonesia and you think to yourself, I know a lot about my city's best eateries. How about I set up a gourmand's tour of Jakarta, a foodie tour? I know a lot of tourists would want to sign up. Good. The first step is to think of a few keywords to begin searching online. Keywords are what you would use to power your search. For instance, you could use foodie tour Indonesia, food tour Jakarta, you could use personalized tours Jakarta, and so on and so forth. Develop as many combinations as you can to go further and deeper into the mass of online data out there. Traditional search engines like Google are a good starting point, but then also search widely on social media platforms, blog sites, YouTube, even e-commerce portals. Search everywhere and as widely as possible and see what comes up. Okay, is someone else already doing it? Maybe there's somebody out there you don't know about. How successful are they? Look at their website, look at their Facebook page. What kinds of comments have they garnered online? Favorable or mixed reviews? Have people spoken about their desire to explore Jakarta's hidden food gems? Has anyone been blogging about the city's food culture? Now, it would be essential to create a data dump. Don't just look and forget about what you're looking at. Copy-paste material out into a separate document, and you could pour over that document later, or you could share it with mentors or other well-wishers. There are a number of free-to-use tools to check what people are searching for. In other words, how many times searches were run for your chosen keywords or those similar to it. For example, you could use Google Trends Analysis. It's a very powerful tool if you use it correctly. Set your region to Indonesia and enter in food tour. Then you will be able to see how many people search for food tour in Indonesia. From this, you can then deduce, are people in Indonesia actually curious about food touring? What about globally? You can actually set your setting to international, and then you can actually then search around the world. How many people search for food tour Indonesia, and whether the topic has been of general interest. So through this, you will get a good idea of what the potential demand for food touring could be in your city. Use other free online tools as well, by the way. Think with Google, BuzzFeed, Mashable, Reddit, all top to a similar effect.
So what about things like direct data? How does one go about starting a collection analysis process?
Now let me explain quickly. Direct data is collected by the entrepreneur personally, okay, using methods such as observation. Observation is a very powerful method. Conversations with experts or group discussions with potential users of your solution. You should do direct data collection and analysis before making any consequential strategic moves. Don't just jump into making moves. Do direct data analysis first. As an entrepreneur, really you ought to do it yourself. You have direct data experience and it doesn't have to be overly complex. The earnest and very first question to ask yourself before starting direct data collection would be, what do I need to know that indirect data isn't telling me, or secondary data, or the stuff that you look online? What is that data not telling me? Now, indirect data can give you very high-level impressions. People's opinions online are usually quite impassioned. People post when they are either upset about something or they are quite excited about something. But what about the many voices who don't post online? They just remain unheard. If people haven't posted much about foodie touring in Jakarta, it does not mean that they aren't interested in it. The thought may not have crossed their minds. You've got to consider that. And then does that mean that you abandon your idea? No, absolutely not. Start with the easiest approach first, and I'll call it ethical intelligence gathering. If there are foodie tours that already exist in Jakarta, go and experience them. Join the tour. Carefully take mental notes. If not in Jakarta or even Indonesia, then travel to Kuala Lumpur. Okay, it will be worth as a learning experience. Do a deep dive as you're taking the tour. Immerse yourself in the experience and observe the quality of the tour's online materials, their social media presence, their online reviews. How efficient is the booking system? Send them questions over email and see how quickly they respond. The tour itself, check whether the tour leader speaks well and is engaging. Do they use any technology like radio headsets? How are other attendees reacting? Are they bored, for example? Would they like something else? Maybe more human. Speak to them after the tour and get their views. Observe also whether the duration is suitable. Did you encounter any problems such as waiting in queues or heavy traffic? Okay. And then think about how would you do it differently. Now that you've experienced all of this, how would you do it differently? In a better way that would work in Jakarta, which is different, which is unique, interesting, and novel. And sometimes there is no substitute to direct data collection. You discover things with direct experience much more readily and pick up subtleties with your five senses, which would be impossible to capture otherwise. And with this deep dive, essentially, you're trying to discover gaps in your opponent's game. Okay? And you also learn how to deliver a great tour experience. After all, you've never done it before, and for most people, it might not be practical to go to college to learn how to become a good tour operator. Studying your opponent is a very common practice in fight sport. I mean, seasoned fighters tend to watch hours upon hours of footage of their opponent to try and figure out what they are not good at or the common mistakes they continually make in order to beat them.
So, is the deep dive just done at the start of the venture?
No, customer research never ceases, Ian. Expect that when you start your foodie tour, other operators would be looking at you very, very carefully. If you make mistakes, they will try and capitalize. It is a competitive space. If you do something really well that tourists are responding to positively, then they'll copy you, and there won't be anything that you'll be able to do to stop them. The only thing that you can really do is to be more analytical and innovative and always be one step ahead. I'm not at all advocating here any unethical means to sabotage your competitors. Not at all. But expect that they might try and sabotage you. It happens all the time. Successful entrepreneurs are not afraid to bend and twist norms beyond their breaking point. They do that sometimes. For example, they might try and plant moles or try and attract your best employees with higher salaries or manipulate your online ratings. Therefore, you must always speak to your customers directly, okay? And you should do that regularly and monitor your competitors' activities online closely.
So, how can we do customer research practice round?
A good way to practice doing market research is to work in alliance with an existing business. Look around in your circle of friends and family. It is likely that at least one contact might turn out to be a small-scale entrepreneur. Offer to work for them voluntarily, free. You are investing in yourself by doing this. Well, think of it as an investment in yourself. And because they wouldn't be paying you, you could take your time and also make demands on their time. Choose a researchable problem that they might be facing. You could focus on the potential for selling their product in another town or launching a new product range or to track the activity of their competitors to draw out what they could do differently. Trawl through forums and reviews websites, look at Google and target the business, see what comes up, note social media and other search results. Check their competitors' activities quite closely. Check the reviews posted online. See what keywords lead you to find them the quickest. Next, when you're sufficiently clued in about your target firm's online footprint, it would be time to speak with experts. And there's no substitute to that. People who know a lot about that area. Find people who are knowledgeable and impartial who will be willing to give you tips and advice on the problem that you are trying to investigate. And don't be intimidated. If you ask politely, most people will take out time to help enthusiastic people. Set up appointments, create a list of questions, and go seek them. Okay, talk to them and take their input. Here's a top tip: take a note taker friend with you. Do not talk, listen, and write at the same time. Your role would be to ask questions and to listen intently, and your note taker friend could take the notes. Once you've spoken to 4 or 5 experts, you will see some common patterns emerging. Periodically report back to your target firm, the people you're working with, and let them know what you have discovered. Only mention those patterns that you are totally certain about. Your wrong conclusions, if they took on board seriously, might lead them to make a wrong move, which could cost them more time and money. So think about blowback and making a mistake. So check, double check, triple check all your patterns.
Thank you, Aaron.
Thank you, Ian.